Thank you all for attending, and thank you, Eva, for organising and hosting today's presentations and workshop. It's a privilege to be invited to speak briefly about data capture and how it can be used to determine best practice. Also, thank you to our distributor, NextGen Life Labs, for their continued support. It's obvious to us as scientists what we mean by data capture. It's simply the process of gathering and recording data. As developers of Matcher, an IT-based system for error prevention and traceability, the thing that continues to stimulate, excite, and challenge us every day is how we go about capturing data and how it can deliver a real benefit to making your lives easier, better, and safer with as little effort as possible, especially when we consider that effort equals cost. There's a phrase that often gets used when we consider data capture. There are actually two phrases, but in this talk, I'll only refer to the one that's politically correct, and that is garbage in, garbage out, or GIGO. This is the concept that flawed, biased, or poor quality garbage information or input produces a result or output of similar garbage quality. And as developers, we must consider this when we design systems for data capture, because after all, what's the real point of a database? And how does knowledge become power? And I'm talking about real power and purpose, not just box ticking to satisfy the regulators for external compliance. In our view, the real point of data capture is to automatically answer the questions that help to enforce smart decisions, and quickly. Preferably, the most important questions that help you to become best in class, help you to attract customers or patients to your fertility centres, help you to become rich and famous, and help you to protect your interests and investments. Fertility centres are, after all, safety-critical organisations where a single, seemingly trivial mistake by an individual can have serious, long-lasting, and sometimes catastrophic consequences for the one individual who had that oops moment. Also for the clinic, the whole organisation, and certainly the patients involved. This doesn't even have to be a mistake. There are many kinds of hazards we are all exposed to. Obvious hazards that we're aware of, and some less obvious hazards, that is, further opportunities for error, lurking under the surface, ready to catch us unawares. It could be something as simple as failing to spot a trend in clinical outcomes, for example, or someone misinterpreting one element of an SOP, or a result relating to quality, for example. Just running out of a particular consumable product that happens to be mission critical can be catastrophic in certain circumstances, and working too slowly or even too quickly can also have dire consequences in your profession. Let's work backwards. Identifying exactly what are our most important questions is probably the best place to start. Some would refer to these as our key performance indicators or KPIs, and this is correct, but I think it could be even simpler than that. How many errors have we made this week or this month or this year, for example, and what type of errors were made, and also who made those mistakes and in what location and as part of what procedure, and which patients and staff and embryos and gametes have been affected. And probably most importantly, what was the reason for the error? And how do we mitigate the errors or prevent them from happening again? Also, how often are we deviating from our prescribed SOPs? And who's deviating and why? And do we therefore need to change our process maps or workflow? Questions like how many cycles and of what type are we providing on a monthly basis or each year? Simple questions like, have we finished all of our tasks for the day? What procedures are still outstanding? What still needs to be done before we can go home this evening? And why are we so busy and stressed all the time? And what's our schedule looking like for today? What cycle day are our patients currently on? What's the next expected procedure for each patient? And have we missed anything out? And why are they making us work so hard? And why did I sign up for this? And how much time are we spending at the workbench? Why or how is one embryologist performing tasks faster than another embryologist? And how are they comparing against the average times for specific procedures and processes? How much space do we have left in our cryo vessels? How many gametes or embryos have we frozen this month or this year? Where are they? Practical questions like, do we have any products that we need to reorder? Or are there any of our products close to their expiry dates, for example? And in the event of a product recall, which patients have been in contact with the recalled product lot, and in what cycle, and as part of what procedure? And are there any patients that are currently require renewal of consent for storage, for example? The list of questions goes on, but it doesn't have to be exhaustive. It's just a case of designing the dashboard that you need to make informed, smart decisions in relation to the way that you work in real time. It sounds simple. Well, it is when you know how, or if you have the right tools to do it. Having a simple dashboard that tells the right people at the right time that hell is about to break loose is a good place to start. We call these insights. And when we know what are the questions we need to answer and what we want from the data, we then need to decide on how best to capture the data in the most efficient way. Sure, we can implement a system for writing it down. It captures the data, right? It's what the regulators want, right? It's the cheapest way of doing it, right? Because we don't need to implement an expensive digital solution. No, this is wrong. It's wrong on all three counts. Writing stuff down on paper in patient records or cryo inventory or lot tracking, and especially handwriting critical information on dishes and tubes and cryopreserved items like gametes or embryos. It's absurd in a digital world, and it's quite dangerous too. We don't do it at home anymore. So why are so many clinics still relying on manual paper-based systems and records at work? Why are we still using two people to check procedures when we don't have to? It's inefficient, and it's definitely not the cheapest way of working. It's actually by far the most expensive way of working, especially when you consider how much time and resource it would take to calculate the answers to some of those questions with just a piece of paper and a calculator, or even in an Excel spreadsheet. In many cases, like in the event of a product recall, for example, I don't believe it would be even possible. To be effective, we must capture digital data in real time at the point of performing a procedure or task for that data to become useful and truly powerful. This isn't optional, it's critical to any total quality management system. For some tasks, even your digital EMR doesn't do this effectively because you're often still manually entering the data into tables on a PC away from the work area retrospectively instead of prospectively in real time as you work. This is where the barcodes are the king of the data capture jungle. Barcodes offer the perfect solution, and it's what they're designed for. And there are several reasons why barcode systems offer the perfect solution for real-time data capture. And let's consider some of these. Firstly, barcodes are ubiquitous. What do I mean by that? They can be, and they usually are, already being used on everything, including all of the consumable products that are coming into contact with the gametes and embryos, the medicines being prescribed to your patients, even the locations and the apparatus that you're using can be barcoded. Barcodes are small, they're versatile, and they're consumable. They're cryo-proof as well, and they're waterproof and oil-proof. They're also portable. Barcodes provide the freedom to capture data anywhere, not just in one location. And this is important so there are no gaps in your chain of custody. And they're globally unique, not only to the patient, but also to the individually numbered gametes, embryos, and biopsies, which is especially important for verifying correctly numbered gametes and embryos through a process like biopsy for PGT and vitrification, and for confirming the fate of specific embryos for transfer or for disposal, or even for movement into and out of your cryostores. They can be assigned to every patient, product, and process in advance, completely eliminating the need for a human decision. Barcodes are the link between the real physical world that's managed by humans and the virtual digital world that's managed by computers. It's like a wormhole in space. And when you're considering the cost benefits of implementing an electronic witnessing system like Matcher, it's a mistake to just think about the value of error prevention. Of course, this is important because who wants to make a mistake when you're moving gametes or embryos around, and no one wants the wrong baby. But you should also be considering the value of real-time data capture and traceability. This is just as important, and in my view, probably more important. Error prevention is just one part of traceability, and Matcher is more than just witnessing, because the system provides you with the tools to prove what you did and analyze what you did with physical evidence, literally at the click of a button. For example, when you witness a barcoded procedure with a benchtop scanner at the workbench or with a pocket matcher in the operating room or cryostore, you're not just checking the ID of the patient. In the 8 seconds or so that it takes you to scan and capture the barcode, you're actually capturing a massive amount of immensely significant data, the type of which can be used to answer your most important questions. This includes who was the patient, what was the procedure, verification it was the right procedure, and if not, why not? Was it match confirmed? And if not, why not? What were the reasons? When and where was the procedure performed? Who was responsible for the procedure? And who else was involved in the treatment? All of the product lots used for that specific procedure, including the labware, the media, even the medicines and the surgical equipment. Was it the right numbered gamete or embryo? And if not, why not? And who was the donor? And verification that it was the right donor. And the cryolocation and the product stock levels. And was the product within date? The day of the cycle, the date and time of the freeze. And it even takes a photograph, and a picture tells 1,000 words. We're aware of cases where photographic evidence has been successfully used to demonstrate that a process was followed correctly, making the photos and the images worth their weight in gold. Traceability is not just important, it's a vital core component of every fertility centre's total quality management system for a whole variety of reasons. A fertility centre simply could not function and wouldn't last very long without adequate traceability systems in place. And in terms of quality control, you can now categorically prove the 5 R's. That's the right patient and embryo, the right time, the right place, the right process, and of course, the right product. This is what we really want to prove. And this ultimately leads to best practice, the whole purpose of this talk. For example, it's important for helping to drive efficiencies, which leads to improved outcomes and results. Traceability is important for ensuring patient and staff safety, quality control, regulatory compliance, and efficiency of the healthcare system. And probably most importantly, it can, if implemented correctly, even mitigate the risks of error and prevent mistakes. And where could it lead us? Confounding data or confounding variables, that is the type of data that we're referring to here, are the cornerstones of root cause analysis and the reasons why outcomes, especially those influenced by biological systems, are what they are. They're the reasons why things go well and the reasons why things go wrong. Also, imagine a world where database service providers work together to integrate systems. We can potentially become even more powerful because we can then potentially cross-reference the data captured from multiple databases and multiple sources for enhanced root cause analysis. For instance, or even for unlocking the secret formula to what makes the perfect embryo. But this isn't just a suggested ideal for the future, it's already happening. Thank you very much for your attention.